Welcome to another episode of Lengua de la Liga. We're going to be giving you guys a European football review through the perspective and lens of the La Liga teams that participated. If you guys like La Liga, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm pretty sure this is the only English-speaking La Liga show on YouTube. Last announcement, we're going to be doing a future predictions video after the draw commences tomorrow, so don't miss that. Drop a like on the video. Follow along in the comments. Lads, I said I had an intro topic for us. Here it is. Is a Spanish team more likely to win the Champions League, Europa League, or the Conference League?
Ooh.
That's a great question. Great question.
That's all I ask, Jose.
It depends on how you feel about Bilbao. It really does. Like it just depends on how you feel about. They're the wild card in my opinion. We've talked a lot about Barcelona and what they can do. Atletico Madrid also looks very, very powerful in Champions League. They didn't start off so hot, but their form has definitely picked up. Real Madrid are kind of a wild card. So for me, Bilbao is like the question mark. Like they're really good. I mean, I like what they're doing in Europa League, but I just don't know.
Well, they definitely ate Betis with the Conference League, I can tell you that, because watching them in the Conference League, I mean, if there was a competition lower than the Conference League, they would go there for how terrible they've been. Athletic Club is the only hope for the Europa League. Obviously, you still got Sociedad, but they're going to go into the knockout round. I think it might be the Champions League, because you can never discount, I am never going to discount Madrid. Even though they have not looked the greatest through this competition so far, they always pick it up in the second half of the season. Then you got Atleti, who have made it to the top 8, and they have a somewhat reasonable path to the Champions League final. And then you got Barca, who probably have one of the easiest paths to the Champions League final. So I feel like it's going to be most likely the Champions League, and that would be a huge dub. And it has to be somebody other than Madrid for me, for the La Liga. It's been a while for Barcelona. Of course, Atleti have never done it, so I think that would be a huge dub for La Liga if it was somebody other than Real Madrid. But yeah, it's not going to be the Conference League or Europa League in my opinion. Although Athletic Club are looking good.
That's a great point, by the way, about the bracket, by the way. Barca have a much easier path to the final than a lot of other teams.
Yep.
I haven't even seen the bracket. I probably should check that out before I give too strong of an opinion. But would you guys say that Athletic Club, like if there's one team to rank as the favorite to win their respective competitions, are we going Athletic Club number 1 to win the Europa League and then Real Madrid 2 to win the Champions League? Or
I would put
where would you put that
Club,
hierarchy?
I would probably put Athletic Club second and Barcelona first. That would be my ranking. And then Madrid third to win the Champions League.
That's actually a really nice order, I think. I think that's probably the most likely, right? I still think Bilbao can really challenge. I know Lazio's looked good on every front this season, right? Serie A as well as Europa League. So that, it'll be competitive once it really kind of narrows down to the latter stages of the tournament moving forward. And we'll have those predictions ready. But yeah, I mean, I can't say any better than Michael did. I think probably in that order: Barca, Athletic Club, and then Real Madrid.
Yeah, I guess numerically, La Liga has 3 pretty strong teams in the Champions League. But like Michael alluded to, as much as it would be awesome to see Sociedad make a deep run to the semifinals or something, I personally haven't seen anything to indicate that that's a possibility. I don't know if you two gentlemen disagree, but I think Athletic Club might be alone in trying to carry on the legacy of Spain just owning the Europa League. I don't think they're going to get any help from their Basque rivals over there in that respect. Okay, so you guys let us know down below in the comments. We're going to go through team by team, talk about very quickly summarizing their campaign in Europe so far. And we can even, just to make it easier for people to skip around team by team, we can try to give them a letter grade for their group phase performance. Let's start at the bottom because I think we need to. And this will be cathartic for everybody. Real Betis, Spain's representative in the Europa Conference League. So they will be playing Genk in the playoff in February. Again, we'll be doing predictions video later. Hit subscribe. Finished 15th in the Conference League group phase. 10 points total. 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. Their 6 goals scored in the group phase is the second lowest of all 24 teams that progressed. What are we going to give Real Betis a letter grade for their group phase?
Before we give a letter grade, I just want to name some teams that finished ahead of Betis in the Conference League. Ready? Okay, so Rapid Wien from Austria, Djurgården from Sweden, Lugano from Switzerland, Legia Warsaw, Poland, Cercle Brugge from Belgium, Jagiellona from Poland, Shamrock Rovers from
Oh my.
motherfucking Ireland, Apoel, Pavos, both from Cyprus, Panathinaikos, Olympia Ljubljana. These are the teams that finished ahead of Real Betis.
A Cypriot or Kypriot club finished above Betis?
Two of them.
Nah, bro.
Oh,
That's
and the
insane,
balloons,
bro.
Yeah.
And the balloons keep going. Exactly. We're
balloons
celebrating Betis now. We're celebrating.
You
Betis.
gotta withdraw. I mean,
No,
you
this
gotta
is-
respectfully withdraw at that point.
I don't think Jack saw that, by the way. Jack didn't see the balloons in the background.
Oh, the balloons in the
Oh, no, I
background
did,
were
I did.
amazing. Yeah.
Is that one of Michael's effects that he can?
Yeah,
do?
yeah, we're celebrating now. We're celebrating. The rest of Europe has been
Bro.
lifted above Betis, bro. It's crazy. Anthony was brought in to save this club. We could say it.
You're gonna
Could
know
not have
that.
arrived at a better time. I mean, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, first off, I want to know in the comments how many players total from every club Michael just named. How many players can you guys name? Let us know in the comments.
I don't even want to even. Yeah, I don't even want to try to guess that.
Okay, here we go with this. By the way, sorry, I just want to quickly interrupt. They lost to Legia Warsaw. They drew with FC Copenhagen. They beat Celje from Slovenia, 2-1. They lost to Mlada Boleslav from Czech Republic. They beat Petroklub from Moldova, 1-0. They beat my team right there, Hoyko, 1-0 in Spain. They didn't thrash these teams. These teams are... Sorry, look, I got my team right there, my Hoyko team from Finland. They're a pub team. And Real Betis are struggling to beat them. Score 3 goals, 4 goals. I get it. You're not the best attacking team right now, Real Betis. You gotta finish top 8. I'm sorry. This is a huge indictment on La Liga. This is a massive L. For me, this is a D. This is a straight... Actually, it could be an F. I'm bordering on an F, but they at least make it to the knockout round and they can salvage something. But this is a horrific campaign.
I'll echo that. I will say too, to add insult to injury, right? In this new format, right? We've genuinely pushed talent from the inferior competition into the competition above it, right? Which is how the teams actually stack up. Europa League teams from last season, some of the better ones, got pushed into Champions League this season, and so on and so forth, right? So you think the Conference League is actually
Weaker.
it's weaker, not as competitive as it was last season, and somehow Betis are still struggling. It makes no sense to me. Anthony might actually come in and be one of the better attackers on this team. He actually might, and it won't say Betis, don't get me wrong, but he legitimately might be one of the better options moving forward. That's how poor it's been for Betis this season. But yeah, bro, I mean, there's so much context here that does not flatter Betis whatsoever. I'm right there with you. I think F is not even it's not dragging Betis at all. We could drag them more. I think they've been very, very poor in Europe.
Yeah, I think it is fair to even anoint them with an F, despite progressing. I will give them a D as well, just like Michael did. I have an insane stat for you guys. I mean, this is effing wild.
I don't think I'm ready.
Do you guys know who Real Betis' top goal scorer is in Europe this season?
I swear to God, if it's Abde, I'm leaving the room.
It's
can only
even
score.
worse, brother. It's even worse. Their top goal scorer is Ayosi Perez.
What?
And
Bro.
he's at Villarreal,
That's what
bro.
I'm saying. He's not even at Betis anymore. What the fuck are we doing, bro? What are we doing? I thought
Nah,
low-key
dude, this
you
club
were
is finished. This club is finished.
Nah,
I thought you were
mean,
gonna throw some
no,
Isco
come
Disco
on.
stat out there because he's only played so many minutes for Betis this season. It's actually worse than that. It's actually worse, bro. That's insane.
just
The man
when you
who-
think it
the
can't
man who
get
left
worse.
The club. Oh no.
The man
please.
who played the qualifier only is their top goal scorer in Europe.
Bro.
It gets worse. It gets
Oh my
worse.
God.
Insane stat number 2. 56% of Real Betis' goals scored in the Conference League are from players who are no longer at the club. 5 of the 9 goals they have scored in Europe, the players are gone.
Ayose Perez and Hassan Dia.
Juan Miranda, Borja Iglesias.
Juan Miranda's in there too, bro. That's insane,
Gotta
guys.
go.
A defender is one of their league goal scorers.
Oh, this is.
I
And
mean,
he's
it's
not there
scandal,
anymore.
bro.
And he's not there anymore, bro. This is insane.
I mean, it's the definition of finished. I could not believe my eyes when I was looking at the goal scores for this club. I mean, There's nothing else to say. Let's just move on to the Europa League. Let's start with Sociedad, if we can. So they finished 13th in the Europa League. Looking at the results, they either won very soundly or the game was just pretty poor overall. I mean, I would say Lazio, that beat down 3-1 was probably their worst game of the ones that I'm looking at. They did lose at home to Anderlecht as well. Sociedad, giving them a letter grade, I feel like there's a little bit of a range here. Jose, if you want to go first, how would you grade these guys so far?
I think they've been kind of mid. It's probably the perfect definition of mid, right? I mean, they lost to
Mhm.
Victoria Pilsen too, right? So you think about that, and this is not a shot at Pilsen. I think that in their own right, they have a lot of European pedigree to an extent. Um, I think seeing Oscarson get a brace today was also important for him, right? So when you look ahead, we'll do the predictions video later on. We'll talk about that. But getting him going after such a slow start to La Liga is super important for the Sociedad team. I mean, I'll be honest, when the campaign started, I did not have them finishing 13th. I kind of had them hovering a little bit more towards that top 8 playoff line, like right competing on the last day for one of those spots. Wasn't the case with how poor of a start they had to the season. So all in all, I think they've had some bright spots. Right, today Zubimeni looked pretty damn good. I thought carrying the ball and doing what he did. They're slowly getting better as the season progresses. So, but still, collectively, middle of the road for me. Not shit like Betis. At the same time, they're not Bilbao at the top of the standings for the Europa League. So perfectly mid. With that said, makes it very, very difficult to predict how they will do in these next rounds. I could not tell you. I'll have to go back and just rewatch some of these games. But all in all, I mean, if you're a Sociedad fan, I don't think anybody's terribly upset. Like you said, there were flashes of greatness along the way. It's just, you want to see guys like Oscarson now step up a little bit more into those knockout rounds. If he can do that, if he can be relied upon a little bit more to get those goals in certain moments throughout the matches that lie ahead, they can progress. Maybe not all the way, make a deep run, but they could definitely progress. So for me, perfectly mid, a passing grade. I'm going to give them I'm hovering to like a B minus and a C plus. You know what I mean? Like pretty decent showing so far. Could have done better, but they passed nonetheless.
If Sociedad make the quarterfinals and then are eliminated, successful Europa League?
Yes. Considering that they have to go through the knockout round, then they got to play a tough opponent in the round of 16. I think that's a pretty decent cameo for Real Sociedad, in all honesty. They haven't been, look, I don't think they've been terrible in Europe, but they have been sort of mid, showing glimpses of a good side. And actually, I did check a couple of their lineups during this campaign. They have rotated a lot during the Europe, so they're kind of focusing more on La Liga to try and rectify their form. And then in Europe, we're like, okay, we'll give the Oscar Sins the chance. We'll give other players a chance. And sometimes it's worked out, but this is the problem. In Europe and Europa League, it's still a tough level. You're going up against Ajax or rejuvenated. Anderlecht seem to be a decent side. Of course, you're going to beat Dinamo Kiev because, I mean, there's nothing left. I mean, we're seeing Yarmolenko from West Ham, who's 38 years old, balling out for them. I mean, that's the sort of level that those sort of teams are at. But I think it's, average for Real Sociedad. I think C is a perfect grade for them.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings here. And if you look at the teams they finished above and below, we'll start with above. Sociedad are probably more talented. Again, as a reminder, they finished 13th. Are probably more talented than 3 of the clubs that finished above them. They're probably better than Bodo Glimt. They're probably more talented than Olympiacos. They're probably more talented than FCSB. I think they're Romanian or something.
Yeah, Romanian.
Yeah, Romanian, yep.
And maybe Anderlecht as well. Pretty decent side. They might be a little close there. If you look up who they finished above, Galatasaray, that team's stacked. Bit of an underperforming campaign for them. Not a massive L, but 14th. They could expect more. Roma, good side. FC Porto, Alkmaar, Fenerbahce just squeaked in, man, at 24. Wow, that would have been a massive L. And Nice all the way down there at 35. So I'll give Sociedad a B minus because I think they did perform better than some of the teams that I think would have been selected as a favorite to progress before the group phase even started. And I like the fact, personally, that it hasn't been a Kubo carry job in Europe like it is in La Liga every goddamn weekend. I think that's an encouraging sign. So I'll
Facts.
give them a B minus. I think it's been okay. I don't think you can get that upset.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Oscarson, when he celebrated, he was doing this. He heard everybody chatting. He heard everybody chatting. So let's see if his form picks up. They need him, though. They desperately need him.
Yeah, today was big for him. It really was, and yeah, he could point to the chatting or whatever, but the chatting's warranted, bro. Like you just need to start kind of picking it up, right?
He's a young kid. Let him be.
Yeah, fair. But again, when you don't have that many options to call upon attacking wise, every one of those guys is important, especially Oscarson. So today was big for him, and we'll see if he can keep it going.
Yeah, well, they're just not good enough to have a large, margin of error. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but like, you need to take your chances if you're Sociedad because they don't always generate a lot. They're like naturally a bit more of a defensive side. So Oscarson being young, being promising, but not being clinical, that's probably why there are certain people in the fan base getting a little disgruntled. But let's move on to Athletic Club, who finished second in the Europa League. 4 wins from 4 at home, the only team to do that in the Europa League group phase. Only 1 loss to Besiktas. It was a bad loss, though. I don't know if you guys got to catch that game. It was.
You know what? There's Ole tax on that. It was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first game in charge for Besiktas. It's Ole tax.
Man, dude, when the camera panned to him on the sideline, I was like, there's no way that Ole has Besiktas up right now. 3-1 or whatever it was at home. It was pretty bad, in that match. I thought both Williams brothers were kind of average, but overall it didn't matter. They still dominated in the rest of their games outside of a draw against Roma in the first match day. Michael, what do you give Athletic Club Europa League campaign so far?
Honestly, probably an A minus, if I'm going to be honest. I just don't think the teams they played against was tough. And those teams you look at on paper, you're like, Athletic Club should be beating them. At home, okay, AS Roma away, difficult. AS Roma at the beginning of this season were a travesty. They had no clue what they were doing. Other teams like Elfsborg, I think they played Victoria Pilsen and obviously AZ Alkmaar. Like those teams, they're not going to compete with Athletic Club. At the San Mamés, it's no competition for them. So they did their job. They got to second place of the Europa League. Now, the thing that is very important is the first and the second seed, they will always, in the knockout round, have the second leg at home. So every away team going to the San Mamés in the second leg and all the way to the final, which is at the San Mamés, that's probably the biggest dub, I think, for Athletic Club that they secured that because that is going to be a hostile environment for every team. But overall, I think they obviously rotated a lot in Europe, like Valverde always does with his teams in Copa del Rey to Europa League. So good campaign, not spectacular. I just think I think they were really fortunate with that schedule. They could have gotten a lot tougher opponents. The only tough opponent you could say is Fenerbahce away, Besiktas away. They got 1 win, they got 1 loss. So yeah, A minus.
Any concern that they lost to Besiktas away, who were knocked out in the group phase?
No, because it's Ole tax, bro. The first game, every
New manager bounce.
New manager bounce, exactly. Every time there's a new manager, you're like, how the hell is this team playing so well? But it's always just 1 or 2 games, and then the magic flows away. So I think it was just that match was just a weird game, and you could see like the players were really affected by the atmosphere because we know the hostile environments that Besiktas and Fenerbahce produce, and it seems like it really flustered the players.
I'm going to ask the same question I asked for Sociedad. We established that a quarterfinals would be a massive dub for their campaign. Athletic Club, if they got knocked out in the semifinals, how mad are we 1-10 on that pod the next day?
5, I would say, depending on the opponent. Like if it's Spurs, I'd be pissed. I can't lie.
It'd be conflicting.
Jack Michael might be beefing that day.
We might be beefing that day.
Hey, Ange always wins a trophy in his second season. So
we'll see.
Honestly, that would be such a fire matchup, though. Athletic Club against Spurs.
Oh, that'd be. Oh, come on, man. Dude, yeah, I'm here for that.
It depends on the opponent that they lose to in the semifinals. So I would say 5 out of 10.
I would agree. I think it's on one hand, you want Athletic Club to really push it because of everything they have going for them in the Europa League this season, right? Again, with where the final is going to end up being, yeah, the opponent that they get is going to maybe change how we feel about that a little bit. But if they were to get someone like Spurs, which, by the way, I mean, if they were to draw any sort of, whether it's Spurs or let's say like a United, right, or something like that, if they draw Premier League, I mean, the PR for guys like Donny Vivian is going to just go through the fucking roof. I mean, for those, again, Prem fans who just don't watch anything else. And by the way, Besiktas also found a way to lose to FC Twente. So there's, again, purely new manager bounce. We could firmly say Athletic Club are a better team. So I don't know. I feel good about them though. And if they were to lose in the semifinal, you can't be horribly disappointed, other than the fact that circumstances are somewhat in their favor. So I do feel good about them right now, and I expect them to, honestly, bro, from my perspective, push for that final.
Do we think they're top 4 favorite for the Europa League now?
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yep.
For me, it's Athletic Club and Lazio are the two teams that I'm looking at. Frankfurt might be a bit annoying. I'm just not sold on the Prem teams, man. I just don't think United and Spurs are going to do it. Not that they couldn't, but I'm not going to rank them as favorites above Bilbao. I'm just not going to do that yet. Especially Spurs. Jesus Christ.
And keep in mind with Frankfurt too, right? They lost Marmoush, and so you think about now what that team's going to look like moving forward. It just makes Athletic Club and Lazio that much more of favorites. I hope to God that's the final. Like, I really do. Like, I think that it would be the perfect advertisement for the Europa League, because I think those are two really good teams.
Well,
I agree with you. I don't think the Prem teams will make it.
The perfect final would be Athletic Club Real Sociedad. A Basque derby in a Europa League final in Basque. Cinema.
Yeah, it would hit
pure cinema.
But we both know that's not happening.
We
will be there in the streets.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
We are taking the pod on the road with the streets of San Sebastian. Dude, that would be insane. You guys are telling me, though, the perfect final wouldn't be Rangers versus FC Midtjylland? That's not what the Europa League wants to see.
No disrespect to Europa League, but no, fuck no. I'll say that right now. I don't want to see that final.
What would you guys grade though for Athletic Club? Would you guys say A-?
Yes, A-.
Yeah. Without getting too far into the weeds, I think you said it perfectly. Yeah, they're really, really good. Just again, if that last result against Besiktas hadn't gone through, you just kind of wonder, right, if they'd be at the top of the table.
Yeah.
That's the Conference League and the Europa League. Let's move on to the Champions League. But before we do, gentlemen, we need to address an elephant in the room. Why are French teams beating Spanish teams so often in the Champions League? I mean, this is ridiculous. All of our teams lost to a Liga side.
Yeah, I will say this. There's an asterisk next to mine. We're down to 10 men in like the first 5 minutes. So, it is what it is, bro. 85 plus minutes down to 10 men. Still find a way to get a goal. But yeah, respect. I'll take it. I mean, still second place. So I
thought France was a farmers league. So I'm just a little confused now why they're doing so well.
You give a farmers league team a man advantage. It is what it is, bro. Still the top, the best competition in the sport. It is what it is, bro. Barca probably still should have won that game, but we move. Not just like we're not worried about Besiktas challenging in any way, shape, or form against something like that Athletic Club. I'm not going to give that one too much weight.
I mean, we should really ask the Leo mayor to give the keys to Madrid back to Madrid, because Leo basically owned Atletico and Real. So that, and the PSG Girona game, that was basically Gazaniga own goal in the 95th minute, 94th minute, something like that. So it was competitive games. It wasn't like a blowout from either team, except for Leo away to Atletico. That finished 3-1. So, but yeah, this is an abnormal season for Ligue 1. Ligue 1 usually struggle mightily in Europe. And then all of a sudden, they got all 4 teams in the knockout round or in the quarterfinal. And they're doing somewhat decently in the Europa League. So I think it's just been an abnormal season for Liga. But kudos to them. They've been excellent, especially Leo. Unbelievable season.
It kind of shit on me a little bit because I've dunked on Jonathan David quite a bit just over the last couple of years. Him finding ways to kind of step up. It's bullish. I don't think he's a big club striker. I'll just say it right now. I don't think he is. It might come back to bite me. I'll hold my hands up until he does it. Right. I think for the volume of chances that he gets, his miss catalog is almost as impressive as his goal catalog.
We will be there for the apology video.
So trust me, bro. I will be there because I don't see it happening, but we'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy looking at how the Spanish sides did against the French team. I'm not sure Lille beating Atleti was the worst defeat. Obviously, when Benfica beat the hell out of it. We'll get to Atleti in a second here, but I did want to address that. Let's start with Girona, bro. I mean, Finished 33rd out of 36
Oh my
teams.
god.
Oh my god.
1 win, 7 losses. That was against Slovan Bratislava at home. There was almost a brief window where they had hope in this campaign. They almost made it out of France with the draw before the Gazzaniga own goal that Michael said in the 90th minute or whatever it was. I have a fun fact that's not very fun for any Spanish football fans. Of the 13 goals Girona conceded in the group phase of the Champions League, 6 of them were penalties or own goals.
Oh my god.
They had 4 own goals in the group phase. They also conceded 4 penalties, but Gazzaniga saved 2. Or he saved 1 and the backup goalkeeper saved another against Sterling 2 days
Yeah,
ago.
I was gonna say, Sterling had one saved. Yeah, so that's a crazy stat, bro. That's like it just shows you. We said it. I don't know how many times we gotta say it on the show anymore, right? This team is down horrendous, bro. Like Arsenal had the B squad. This is probably one of the few matches Sterling's actually played this season. Neto and keeper
Yeah.
too. And the only reason Don Yuma scores that, right, is because Neto,
was
for
terrible.
whatever fucking reason, he's so trash. He's literally 25, 30 yards up. And the crazy part is he tries to make the save. Imagine had he made the save. We're talking about Arsenal going down to 10 men against Girona, and then maybe Girona gets a chance at getting a W in this, to end off this terrible European campaign. But, bro, I mean, Michel is just in the trenches fighting for his life, bro. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, I don't know what has to happen with Girona.
Do we give them some slack though because they played PSG, Feyenoord, PSV, Liverpool, Milan, and Arsenal? Do we expect them to win those games?
No, we give them slack for that.
Yeah, we'll give them slack. I just wanted some of those to be a little bit closer, but
7 L's, that's just rough. You know what I'm
That
saying?
is rough.
7. You couldn't give me one draw, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Especially the Sturmgras. I mean, you cannot lose to an Austrian team. I'm sorry.
No.
Sturmgras, that is unacceptable. Like, they were competitive, I thought, against Liverpool. Being at the game live in person, I thought they were actually quite decent. Only 2-1 loss to Arsenal, 1-0 loss away to Milan, where they even had an offside goal called off by Brian Hill. So I think Girona were competitive. I just think they just lack experience in Europe. Same thing with Michel. And this team is just, they got nuked in the transfer window. And it just clearly showed on the field. They could not compete against top sides in Europe. Now, if they had the likes of Dovbyk, Savinho, and all these guys, and they performed like this, oh no, it would be an F. And then I would raise an eyebrow on Michel and be like, what's happened here? Why are you not performing with this team? But I think it's their first European campaign. To be honest, I'm going to give them a D.
that's actually like fair. I was going to say maybe even like because of the expectation for everything Michael just said, C minus, just because of the expectation. And I don't know how City Football Group hasn't reinforced this team, knowing that they qualified for the Champions League. They were pillaged more than any of our ancestors, and yet they literally just, all right, go ahead, go. We'll run it back with the same team, no reinforcements. Let's just see how well we do.
And they tried to tell me that Miovski was going to save the day.
But it's just crazy, bro. Like I just don't understand what the thinking was. All they cared about is their flagship squad in City, and they left Girona there to die, bro. That's literally what it was like. Just nothing, no help.
Yeah, they're down bad. They were starting Asprilla as like a cam. I mean, they're trying everything. Michel's trying everything he can to make this squad relevant. I totally agree with everything you guys said. I watched a lot of their Champions League games, and I can honestly say for about 30 minutes of every game, they were quite good. Mm-hmm. The problem is, in those 30 minutes, they rarely scored. And it just, in the remaining 60 minutes, shambolic defensively. Like, they cannot defend against good teams. They can't defend against good teams, and they can't score against good teams. So if you're a side that's strong in either department, you're just going to beat Girona because they can't keep it up for more than 30 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. And that's going to be that, And I think some of these results for them, like the Milan game, I know it ended 1-0. I mean, Milan were all over them, like ransacked them in the first half. Yunus Musa hit the post. I think Leao hit the post. It was almost a bit flattering, I thought, that the 1-0 in the end. But I'll give them a D+ because they should have gotten 2 wins in this group phase.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they have the worst miss of the entire league phase. It was the Sturmgras game. I can't remember which player from Girona. The XG on the attempt was 0.95.
Oh. I can't remember who it was. It
But
wasn't
you got
Arnau, was it?
might have been him, but he was literally like 2 yards out and he skied the chance. I think that was the worst miss of all in the league phase. So that just epitomizes Girona. They got no attack whatsoever, and it cost them big time.
Arnaud's a hell of a player too. I actually rate Arnaud. I actually think he's a fantastic outside back. I would take him. I'm 100%. I would take him at Barcelona.
He
I
will be
really would.
sold 100%.
Yeah, I think he needs to. Need to get the hell out of there unless City Football Group has some plans to reinforce that squad, but I just don't see it.
You wish that. Do you see who they're linked to today? Arthur Melo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Who?
that's crazy. Exactly.
Nah, bro. Are we talking about Real Betis or what's going on?
Like it's
here? Come on.
2015 all over again, bro. Like
Say
I
it
have
ain't
no
so,
idea how
dude.
that man's literally linked to anybody. That's fucking crazy.
Say it ain't
We're
so,
about to see
dude.
Donny
The
van de
Girona
Beek and
Empire.
Arthur Melo double pivot at Girona. What has happened?
Take me back, bro. Take me back to 2015, 2016. Let's run it.
Bro, there's nothing young Herrera can do with this side to make them good.
No.
Like it's just absolutely impossible. Okay, so we're all going like C plus to D or C minus to D plus range for Girona.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Let's talk about Barcelona, a team that actually did something. Finished second in the Champions League on 19 points, 28 effing goals scored, which is ridiculous. The second most goals scored by a team in the Champions League group phase, Dortmund with 22. So Barca, I mean, they're handing out 4 pieces for fun. Jose, you're the Barca fan.
Mm-hmm.
A plus for the group phase?
I would say pretty close, like A to maybe A plus. I think when the reason I still think that we have something or we left something on the pitch, so to speak, would be just on the opposite end of that. Of the top 5 teams, 5, 6 teams, we also were one of the most scored on, right? We conceded goals like crazy. 13 of them. So it's just one of those things where sometimes I want more control, especially in these very high profile matches where the deeper we go into this competition, you're just gonna have teams who are able to control games, right? Where the high line that we run will get punished more often. And so I think that it's something where I'm hoping certain players start to become a little more prevalent, like a Frankie de Jong, for example. Someone who's able to kind of come in and help us control more games, especially knowing that Araujo is back. And while I love this player, despite all of the drama surrounding him right now and his potential long-term exit from the club as a captain, which is fucking insane to me. Him coming back into the side, well, he scored a massive goal this past week. He also is not very disciplined in his defense, not the most technical defender either. I think getting Inigo back from injury is going to be very key for Barcelona as well. Pairing him with Kubarsi to mimic some of the defensive prowess that we saw from this team to start the season. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I just know what the next stage of this competition presents, and so we'll have
You
a
don't
whole
sound
prediction.
very happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
make it sound happy.
yeah,
What the heck?
yeah. Maybe it's
You
it's
sound
me
like you're a
being-
Girona fan. You finished 33rd.
No, trust me, we don't want to see what a Girona fan sounds like right now. Nobody wants to see what that person sounds like. But look, man, I wanted first place at the top of the table. Like, and we didn't get it. I think there was a chance to do that, considering Liverpool completely rotated. I mean, a full blown B squad going out there. I think the first place spot was there for the taking, and we couldn't against a good Atalanta team. Gasperini's men are always up there, so I'm not discounting anything along the way. I just was hoping for a little bit more, but I'll give them an A. I'm not completely going to say A plus though.
Michael, is Rafinha the MVP of the Champions League group phase?
Oh.
That's a great question.
What did he get? He got 8 goals, and I think he was the top assister in the league phase, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was.
He had
Definitely
the
up
most
there.
big chances created. He had to be top 3 in assists. I can try to verify
I think he
that
was,
real
but
quick.
yeah.
He's number two. Number two.
I think Rafinha is.
Who was one?
Tekitolare, ironically, from Atalanta.
CDK. Yeah, CDK.
Yeah, baller.
I would
Baller.
probably say it's Rafinha or a guy who we mentioned earlier in this video, Jonathan David. Those would be my 2 MVPs of the league phase. But Rafinha's up there, bro. What the performances he had, game winner against Benfica in the 96th minute, 2 goals against Bayern Munich, scored against Dortmund, if I'm not mistaken. Dude showed up in almost every game, especially crucial moments for Barcelona. And I think the only problem is, you conceded 13 goals. Like, that's wild. Now, of course, 4 of those came against Benfica in that wild game. You conceded 2 goals to Monaco when you're down to 10 men. But let's compare. You conceded 13. Inter conceded 1 goal in 8 games. Arsenal conceded 3 goals in 8 games. I think Liverpool conceded 5 goals in 8 games. 3 of those was against PSV when they had a C team. So it's not perfect, but definitely, if you're any team in the Champions League, you don't want to play Barca. I think Barcelona really stamped themselves back onto Europe. Last couple of years with Xavi, you're getting clowned on by Frankfurt when they have 35,000 basically having a home game in Catalonia. And you're getting clowned by Inter in the group stage, going out in the group stage. You're losing to PSG because Dembele is just crying on your faces. But now I think there's a bit more fear about Barcelona to what we used to accustom with this side. I think
that last one was unnecessary, Michael.
Hey,
I know, bro. This man's just throwing jabs out here. But hold on, wait for the grade.
I thought he was reading off a scroll. He had like a list of slights against FC Barcelona.
That image of Dembele just mocking Barcelona will always be in my mind. And
yeah, it'll be a meme that lives forever. 100%.
By the way, they could still face Barcelona. I am praying to the heavens of the football gods. Give us a PSG Barcelona game in the round of 16. We will be there for sure. But I think they got an A. I think it's an A. A+ would have been, you have to beat that Atalanta side yesterday. I'm sorry, with no Lukman, no Ademola Lukman, the CAF player of the year, the most important player for Atalanta, you have to beat them. And you gave away, 1-0 up, 2-1 up, and he threw away 2 leads. That can't happen for Barcelona. So, yeah, A. I think Barca fans would have taken it, though, because look at the schedule he had. Dortmund away, Bayern at home, tough opponents.
Tough.
Agreed.
Tough, dude.
Tough
also, that Ederson goal.
Oh
my
gosh.
gosh.
Dude, oh my goodness. Dude, there were some Barca fans blaming Szczesny. I'm like, show me a keeper who saves that. Just show me one. There's no way, bro. Like why? And some of it's like, oh, Iñaki Peña. Bro, Peña's not saving that. I'll tell you that shit right now for free.
No.
There's no way. Like, a lot of it's some of the bitterness for that decision from Flick. But, bro, it was a fantastic hit.
Yeah, I had to put my empanada down and start clapping. I mean, it was that good. It was honestly, both Atalanta goals were really, that pass from Darun. Oh my lord!
Yeah,
inch perfect. That was one of my favorite games, the Champions League group phase. I don't think anybody could say Barca did not have the most entertaining Champions League group phase.
Easily
the amount of goals we got, crazy. I mean, if you only have time to watch one team, you should probably watch these guys going forward. I'll go A as well. Yeah, they conceded a lot, but offensively, they quite frankly looked a little unstoppable. In almost every single game, not counting the AS Monaco debut. So they were going all A's for Barcelona. Let's talk about Real Madrid next. So not as great of a overall campaign as the other La Liga sides, but they did finish strong, 3 wins in a row. Same goal differential as Atleti, +8. What do we think for Real Madrid?
This is an interesting one because if you actually watch the games, they did not play well. I'm sorry. You remember what happened in the Stuttgart game. Stuttgart had about a gazillion chances. They couldn't convert. Dortmund, 2-0 up against Real Madrid. And then Vinicius said, you're in my casa. And now I'm going to show up. And then they won 5-2. Yesterday, against Stade Brestois, Courtois made 3 world-class saves. Stade Brestois? Are you kidding me? Okay, the teams they beat. RB Salzburg. I mean, everybody can dunk on RB Salzburg at the moment. We could get a Lingua de la Liga team and we would dunk on RB Salzburg. That's how bad they are. Okay, Real Madrid, they lose to Liverpool away. I can understand. Anfield, you're injury plagued. Can understand that loss. I'm sorry. This is not a Madrid team that I'm used to. Yes, the injuries are costing them with Militao and Carvajal. And lately, the attack has been clicking. But what we saw in the early stages of the Champions League was simply not good enough from a Real Madrid status. So I would probably go, because they didn't get top 8. I don't think they performed the best. I'm going to go B-.
That was my exact one too.
Okay. I think I'll go B because of how they ended the campaign. And I know the defense has been a problem, which we've talked about for weeks now, it feels like. But they still have Courtois. That's the thing. If something happens to that man, they're not winning the Champions League. And I think statistically, the goalkeepers that saved the most expected goals for their side, Courtois is number 1 in the entire Champions League group phase, which Real Madrid's goalkeeper probably shouldn't be number 1 in that category. Like that's an indicator something's wrong back there. And we know it's wrong, but they're still winning because, like Michael said, the offense is on fire now. Like they kind of have the Barca offense now, just the Girona defense at the same time. So does that set them up for, Champions League glory again? I mean, this is their competition. that kind of X factor means a lot. I'll go B because I still don't think anybody wants Real Madrid right now. I don't think anybody wants to play them. I think you take Atleti over Real Madrid, as much as it pains me to say that. So I'll go B.
Yeah, fair. The one thing I'll point to with the attack, everyone's talking about it, right? They're scoring goals now. I still think it's like they're doing better than the start of the season. But if you context is super important, right? And Mbappe has yet to score against the top 7 side in La Liga, right? So you think about that, right? On top of again, it couldn't score against Brescia, right? Is only scoring against the teams they really should be beating and dominating in the Champions League as well. This is not why they acquired Kylian Mbappe. They didn't acquire him to be what they already were. It was to level them up and again get them over the line in the biggest matches that they will, that they have on the schedule, right? So, for those who are just screaming that Mbappe's back, I'll believe it when he decides to show up for a big game.
Yeah, totally agree. We've brought up the fact that Madrid versus the elite of the elite hasn't really gone their way this season. Now, I did want to ask you guys, because I didn't get to watch this game, but when Milan beat them 3-1, was that like a fluke result? Was that flattering to Milan? I wish I probably should watch the replay.
I think it was like 2-1 would have been a fair result for Milan, or 3-2 in my opinion, because Maignan made some incredible saves in the second half, but Milan really showed up that day, and that was with Fonseca, who was a terrible manager, and that's the reason. That was probably, I would say, Milan's best game this season, because the ball movement was fantastic. Reinders and Leao were incredible. So yeah, I would probably say it was a fair result.
Okay. All right, so we're all going like pretty decent marks for Real Madrid. We can conclude this episode with Atletico. Another reminder, we're going to do the predictions at a separate time. So Colchoneros finished 5th overall in 18 points. I did think it was cool. Second best overall record on the road during the Champions League group phase. 3 wins, 1 loss. And I think after the first 2 devastating matches against Benfica and Lille, Atleti were pretty damn good after that. Maybe you can throw the PSG fluke win on top of that, where we just terrorized our way to a victory. I'm going to go... I actually don't know how I'm going to go with us. I'm kind of leaning A-, but I could see a pessimistic Atleti fan saying even as low as a B-, because it's like, oh, well, the performances. Think of the performances. Think of how we pulled out some of these wins. We didn't outplay PSG. We out-survived them. Even against Leverkusen, like that was an incredible comeback with 10 men. But again, a pessimist might be like, we shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. Leverkusen missed a lot of chances in the first half. Like they should have buried us, quite frankly, and they didn't. So I'll split the difference. I'll say B+. I'm happy with the guys. What is y'all's take of Atleti's group phase campaign?
Yeah, I would go B+ as well. I think other than that terrorism victory in Paris, where, I mean, you guys scammed that. I have no clue how you won that game, because PSG, they had an absolute scam. So other than that, and 2 late no, actually you scored 3 late winners, which is a common theme with Atleti this season. 90th minute winner against RB Leipzig, the 95th minute winner against PSG, and the 90th minute winner by Alvarez against Bayer Leverkusen. So again, then you destroy the teams that you should be. You destroy Sparta Praha, Slovan Bratislava, and who was it yesterday? RB Salzburg. So I think you beat the teams you're supposed to, but you also scored a lot of goals, which is not really a common thing we see with Atleti in Europe. Yeah, B+. I think they had a good performances. Maybe just that Benfica loss, though. That was terrible. 4-0 away.
That's our worst game of the season, easily.
Easily
worst game of the season.
That might be the worst Atleti loss I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was that and the Betis loss that were just... And they were pretty close to each other. Just Betis have Abde as an attacker, so the final score was 1-0, but it should have been way worse than that. Way worse than that.
Agreed.
What you think, Jose?
I won't add any more I think Michael put it perfectly. Dark Arts FC gets a B for me. I think a few performances in the beginning of the campaign that you say scammed your way through, whatever the case may be. But then you look at, again, the Benfica game was just probably the most mind-blowing performance or result, I guess, for Atleti. I just didn't see it coming, bro. And again, maybe that's a little bit of a discount on Benfica. They are pretty stellar in Europe. Most campaigns, more campaigns than not. Pavlidis is having one for his fucking career at this point. as a striker. Like I didn't think I'd ever see the day where he'd score a hat trick in the Champions League, but here we are. So at the end of the day, all in all, Atleti have done, I think, what for the most part most fans expected of them results wise. You could be a pessimist and focus on the performance, but at the end of the day, at the end of the group stage, nobody cares about those individual performances. It's just where you are on the table. So a B works for me.
I'm just more intrigued to see when in our prediction video, how far do we think Atleti are going to go? But you guys have to stay tuned for that because that will be an interesting
Huge
debate.
question. Yeah, huge question.
Huge question. But we're just going to have to leave you guys waiting there for a future episode. So make sure you hit subscribe. Check us out on social media. Links in the description. We're going to be following the Spanish sides throughout the entire conclusion of this European calendar, guys. So join us. We will be back to regularly scheduled Lingua de la Liga programming soon here on the channel. Again, one of the few English-speaking shows covering La Liga here on YouTube. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. If you're listening on streaming platforms, leave the podcast a 5-star rating. Share with a friend. Check out my co-hosts. Their links will be in the description of this video. And we'll see you guys in the next one.